Okay.
So the first question is, what has fed you spiritually at St. Paul's, especially during this time of social distance?
I would say the thing that I've gotten the most from is the Wednesday midday Zoom chats.
Mm.
That the Sunday service is wonderful and I wouldn't want to give it up, but having that person to person interaction and the caring and the concern and the fun and it's as close to being with people without physically being people, and that really feeds my soul. And it helps that it's people that I've known for years. I mean, your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we've been talking about at some of our meetings about the whole thing of communion when you don't have elements, and communion is being that kind of intimate sharing that you can develop when you've known each other as family for a long time. So
Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm delighted to have you be part of my family, that's for sure. So what caused you to make St. Paul's your spiritual home?
So when Ken and I moved to Fort Collins, we knew that we wanted to end up either in a UCC or an Episcopal church because those were our two churches of what he grew up in, what I grew up in. And St. Paul's was the church that we were most warmly welcomed at. That coffee hour came and we had, I don't even remember, like 5 or 6 people, persons or couples come over and say, hello, how are you? Are you new to town? And it was a little odd for me because I grew up in a bigger church. So being part of at such a small church, small to me church, was like, I don't know if this is going to suit me, but it must have since I've been at St. Paul since 91. So but it was the sense of welcome, and then the theology lined up well with my personal theology. Open, welcoming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. What's your favorite memory in your life at St. Paul's?
I saw that and I have so many. I'm going to have to choose between wearing the silly hats for the bishop, which I orchestrated. Thank you very much. But I think the one that really goes to me is I shared it on a Wednesday Zoom not so long ago. Ken was choir director. We were actively singing an anthem from the back of the church at the Elizabeth Street parish, and the kids were coming in from Sunday school to join Big Church for communion. And Emma came in and she was on the order of 5-ish. And so she sees her dad standing there in the middle of the aisle and he's conducting, and she runs and gives him a hug, and he just grabs her like with one arm and twirls her around and sets her down and continues conducting. It was just like it was part of the music and the dance and the joy. And so I can't think of that experience without just a smile and a warm glow in my heart. Because again, for me, it's like, yes, that's my family, but it was within my church family with music. So it's got all of the feel goods for me. And people they sort of chuckled and then they just listened to the music and it was fine. Nobody was like, oh, that terribly uncouth child who just doesn't know how to come properly into a church service. You never get that at St. Paul's.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And why are you still a part of St. Paul's?
I'm not going to divorce my family. There are too many good people. Yeah, it's home. It's home, it's love, it's comfort. Um, that's not to say I don't like going to other churches and experiencing a different worship style every once in a while. Not that we've been able to do that in the last months, but um, and is St. Paul's perfect? No, but show me any community, any church that is. And we have so much that does fit with me, that does feed me, that I feel supported and loved. And I do my best to support and love the people there in return. Um, so, yeah, you guys have stuck with me.
That's great. Good. And the final question, in your St. Paul's experience, when have you felt a special sense of community or presence with God or one another? And you've kind of already answered that. So elaborate. Give us some more examples.
One thing that I thought of the other week when we were talking about what does communion mean, another really meaningful communion experience I had at St. Paul's was when I was senior warden. We were doing a search. We had gotten to the point of the search where it was Bob Davidson and, oh my gosh, you can tell it's been a long week, Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
And the bishop called, and due to reasons that he had made to the diocese, he was asking Bonnie to withdraw her name. And so he came up and was sharing that news with us. And it was, I think, both the vestry and the search committee. It was at least the vestry, but I want to say it was both groups. And Bonnie was there, Bishop Rob was there, and he asked, sort of after we had processed as much as we were going to process that evening, what more do you need from me? And he had offered to come back the next day, which was like a holiday Monday, I think, and talk more with the vestry. And I said, well, we need that. But we also need communion. We need communion right now because we are so broken. And I think he was a little taken aback because this was one of the first times he had come to St. Paul's. And to be the bearer of such news of upheaval, he was very nervous about it. So with me asking, we need communion with you, from you right now. So that in and of itself was very meaningful, and having Bonnie be there and helping him at the altar. And again, music plays into it because it was just, it was an unplanned communion. It's not like we had Monty there or anything like that. But Ken was one of the first people to go up and receive communion, and so was one of the first people back in the pew. And he's flipping through the hymn book, and there's the hymn, They Cast Their Nets in Galilee. It's just a short little hymn, but it's talking about how the way of God is hard. That, one of the disciples was crucified head down. I think one was stoned. And yet, let us pray for just one thing, the marvelous peace of God. And so we started singing that a cappella, and we had enough choir people and good, strong singers, not in the choir there. And I could tell that Bishop Rob was visibly like stunned. So it was just sort of like that moment in time where life was really, really hard and we were heartsick. And it was beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That brings tears to my eyes,
There you
which
go.
is a good thing because of the smoke around here.
Oh, I
Nice to
know.
be able to cry. But it sounds like what you're saying is that this kind of quality of depth and family and commitment to each other is something that you found at the beginning, but you've seen instances of it all the way through, and it's still kind of there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You are quite welcome.